Yes, it might be hard to believe that it's been over 2 decades since Harry Potter made his grand screen debut and more than a decade since the last book was released, but the Potterverse doesn't seem to be dwindling. Rather, its popularity is still way up in the skies. Sit back and relax as we explore the worst of Harry Potter movies to the very best. We're starting off with Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, released in 2018. This movie was an absolute disaster. That might seem a bit harsh, but it's kind of true. The scripts were a big mess from the very beginning right down to the end. It seemed like the story was just jumbled up to form a script without properly trying to relate the plot in a natural and more enjoyable manner. The story had too much going on, and it went on for far too long. At some point, it just seemed like it didn't want to end at all. Despite the poor scripts, we still got some stellar performances from Zoe Kravitz and the trio of Catherine Waterston, Eddie Redmayne, and Dan Fogler, who brought along their amazing chemistry from the initial movie. However, the performance fans were looking forward to was sadly disappointing. Johnny Depp's performance as Grindelwald lacked life, and it really dampened the movie more, making fans yearn for Colin Farrell. Then we have Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, released in 2022, which was slightly better. The sequel of The Crimes of Grindelwald was not bad, but it wasn't as good as the major films of the franchise. The Secrets of Dumbledore tried to correct the mistakes of its prequel, and one of the major changes made was bringing Steve Kloves back to assist J.K. Rowling in writing the script. We really saw his impact in the new movie. It was much more coherent and easier to follow, plus the events didn't seem to drag as much as the first. Unfortunately, Depp was unable to reprise his role in the movie due to a libel case, but Mads Mikkelsen really did a good job, especially trying to fill the shoes of a very popular actor like Depp. Then we have the second installment in the franchise, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, released in 2002. In some ways, this is the least of the mainline movies of the franchise. Reason? Let's take a look at the movie as a whole. It started with a very fun intro, flying cars at a stomping tree. That was epic and hilarious, but the story just got darker and darker from there. It should have at least retained some of the fun of the beginning as the movie got deeper. Don't get us wrong, the Tom Riddle storyline was epic. Moaning Myrtle was an amazing inclusion as well. Plus, we were introduced to interesting Dobby, and the way he was freed at the end was just remarkable. It was kinda hilarious too, one of the very few fun moments found later on in the film. However, in comparison to the book, it falls short a great deal. The movie just couldn't hold a candle to the book as much as Chris Columbus tried. It is legit the lengthiest movie in the franchise, and it's very hard to tell why that is when you look at the overall movie. Next up is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1, released in 2010. For starters, when it was decided that the Deathly Hallows was going to be split into 2 parts, it was kinda obvious from the onset that it was going to impact the first part of the story. No doubt David Yates did a good job adapting the story for the screen. However, it was still lacking. The start of the movie was nice, but honestly, as the movie went on, it kinda seemed like it was a ritual preparation for the second part. Still, Yates did a nice job of giving it a very sad cliffhanger. The death of adorable Dobby was very tragic. Then we moved to the best of the Fantastic Beasts series, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, released in 2016. The way sequels to this movie have turned out in recent years has really reframed the first movie as a masterpiece. The film series focused on events prior to the mainline movie's timeline, and Yates did a fantastic job bringing the world to life through the keen eyes of Eddie Redmayne's Newt. What were the highlights of the movie? The performances, for one, were stellar. Colin Farrell did a very good job with Grindelwald, adding gravitas and enviable charisma to his role. The performances of the other characters were not lacking in any way, as they transformed into their characters. The main highlight of the movie was how well the story was able to artfully balance the dark and light with remarkable effects. Back to the mainline movies, we have the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, released in 2005. The mainline movies pretty much dominate the list from here forward. The Goblet of Fire was good, but it does not do justice to the book. The book was phenomenal, and the movie tried but just couldn't keep up. The 442nd Quidditch World Cup, which heralded the events in the 4th book, was more or less a blur in the movie. The Triwizard Tournament, which was the main highlight of the book, also seemed rushed. The tournament in the film was great. For instance, the guest characters were perfectly cast, but it just seemed like their potential was not fully utilized. It was awesome nonetheless. Take a look at the flawless representation of Mad-Eye Moody. Brendan Gleeson's performance was top-notch, and he really brought that character to life. Plus, the movie started the romantic drama between Ron and Hermione that continued to the end of the film series. Diving into the romantic realm, the awkward feelings of Harry, Ron, and Hermione were explored alongside interesting foreign students. Then we have Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, released in 2009. The 6th Harry Potter movie was really nice, and it was an excellent farewell to the jolly life at Hogwarts before Voldemort's war fully began. Yates managed to blend dark and light tones into a masterpiece. We got to see the teenage protagonists venture into the rom-com zone more, and the movie was even and kind of funny when it needed to be. Overall, the movie was a good step into the darker parts of the saga. Next up is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, released in 2007. The fifth installment of the mainline movies marked David Yates' Potterverse debut, and what better way to show his competence than the politically themed film? Fun fact, this was the only film of the mainline movies not written by Steve Kloves, and although there was apprehension in the air, Michael Goldenberg delivered excellent work that dispelled any sort of doubt. The book was the longest Harry Potter book, but turned out to be the second shortest in the series without compromising content. One of the most impressive performances in the book was Imelda Staunton as Dolores Umbridge. Staunton undoubtedly brought the character to life. Evanna Lynch also brought a lot of life into fan favorite Luna Lovegood. All in all, the movie really was good. Kudos to Yates. Going back to where it all started, we have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, released in 2001. The first director of the Harry Potter saga may have produced unsatisfactory work in the second movie, but the Home Alone director was the best fit to start the Harry Potter adventure. He welcomed fans of the books in a remarkable way by bringing the genius work of J.K. Rowling to life. The movie might not be as eventful as the other films in the saga, but it was the perfect start to a wondrous magical world. Climactically ending the original franchise movies is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, released in 2011. A decade after the release of the first Harry Potter movie, the last movie of the main saga was released, and it was no doubt one of the best. Yates and his team might have outperformed themselves on this one. The pieces were set in Part 1 of the film, all that was left was stringing them together, and Yates brought forth exceptional directing to wrap up the masterpiece. The long-awaited war between Voldemort and Harry Potter broke out, and the battle was everything we envisioned and more. There were a lot of opportunities for the team to screw up in the movie, but they didn't. Instead, they managed to create a blockbuster finale fitting for the genius storyline. Finally, topping the list as the absolute best is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, released in 2004. Chris Columbus is a great director, and so is David Yates, but the best one yet to direct a Harry Potter movie is Alfonso Cuarón. The man is an evil genius. He poured so much talent into The Prisoner of Azkaban, carefully crafting every scene to perfectly land the twist in the third act. Cuarón made changes to the feel of Harry Potter while still maintaining what Columbus had built in the earlier two films. Right from the time travel scenes to the Hogwarts choir to the exceptional POVs to the night bus to the Dementors, the world was scaringly alive. The Fantastic Beasts series have tried to replicate what Cuarón did with the movie, but it just doesn't feel the same. We've also got to give credit to one of the most underrated characters in the franchise, Remus Lupin, who was beautifully played by David Thewlis. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.